Hello and welcome back to my workshop. My name is Robert. This video is part 2 in a series on building a simple radius dresser for my surface grinder. Part 1 was a bit Marmite. Some people liked it, some people didn't. The comments were that I put too much extended bandsaw footage in there, and I can't disagree with that. I did rush editing it and I didn't have time to review it in the circumstances I was in. But hopefully this one will be a bit better. So I hope you like it. Thanks for watching. Let's get on with it. So having had time to think about this overnight, I've decided I'm going to do the two sides first. I'm obviously going to lose my layout lines then, but I'm not too worried about that. Let's start machining. I'm just taking 5 thou at the minimum feed per stroke. Then I'll put the shear tool in just to clean it all up and make it look pretty. Second side, I've got it clamped in the vise slightly differently now. I've put a 1, 2, 3 block in so I can clamp onto this face. So now I come to mounting this in the mill. I've got 2 parallels here and a 1, 2, 3 block. I'll put that on there like that. I can get that. And then nicely in the middle of the vice jaws. This will provide a surface to put another 1, 2, 3 block on here. And if I clamp that up now, because this is further out than this unmachined face here, that will clamp that nicely. So we'll just tighten that up. So we're just about set up, ready to cut down here. I'm going to be using the tool slide to feed it down. The table will just stay in the same position and will be used to increase the next depth of cut. So as regards the clapper, just to check whether or not it's pointing in the right direction, and it's sort of tilted sort of from 1:05 to 7:25. If I pick the clapper up and move it, you'll see that the tool is actually getting further away, and that's not just an optical illusion based on the position of the camera. It's actually getting further from the workpiece. Well, 10 out of 10 for effort. I've run out of travel, so I might come up short on the travel, but what I have done, let's just check to see how the setup is. Put a little square on there, and that looks good enough to me. Change of plan. I got a not particularly good finish manually feeding the tool from top to bottom. So what I'm going to do now is reconfigure these gears here so that the ratchet will drive the vertical feed. I've not used this very much, but it's what I originally put these gears on here for, before I worked out that I could use them to do a gear cutting attachment. I think that's 24. That's 24. I think I need to tweak that to get that to line up. Put that key somewhere safe. Yep. And then that goes in there. Got that grub screw. Keep gear in position. There we go. So we're all set up now to automatically feed this vertically. To make life easier on the drive mechanism, I'm going to feed the table downwards, so the tool will cut from bottom to top. That probably lines up with the requirement to get a nice blend here, as I can just touch off down here and then feed the tool up this face, and it's not going to go too deep and spoil what we've already got down here. I'm using the shear tool, so we should get a nice finish all the way. It's going to be slow going, but we're not in a rush. So set this up. Firstly, the support bar underneath the table is not locked, because if that gets locked, that's going to cause a massive crash. You have to keep your wits about you when you're using vertical feed. There's no safety mechanism anywhere in this. If you run it off the end, certainly going down as we will be, it'll just jam the little threaded gear on the lead screw, and you have to take the whole lot apart to free it. Ask me how I know. Right, so that's just about bottom. So I'm on a fairly slow stroke at the moment. I need this here. So I will feed it into the work. I'm on 2 clicks at the moment. I'm just going to be roughing material off. So let's just see how this goes. Quick tool change, and whilst it's still set up in this orientation, I'm going to just flatten that so it's true to this face. So that's my pin. 0.477, which sits in there quite nicely. Depth mic. That should there. So this is when we have the option of cocking up the measurement completely. 175 plus 15, 1.190. Quick bit of off-camera maths tells me that that face is 1.667 above the bottom of that trench. And the design says 1.5. So we've got 167 thousandths to come off. For the final passes, I finally bottled out and changed the tool. I wasn't getting the right finish with the other one, and you can see this one's giving much more of a mirror finish, less tearing. I'm not sure whether the lines you can see were from the previous tool or this one. So this is my madcap scheme for machining this top face. I've got 2 clamps holding it against the side of the table using the T-slots in the side of the table. This will be a first for me, actually hanging something off the side of the shaper to machine it. I've got it dialed in so that the back face, which is the base of this thing, is vertical. So as I wind the table up and down, the DTI doesn't move. So this surface here will be machined perpendicular to that. So we have 72 thou to come off of this. In a quest for a perfect finish, I tried this shear tool. Now it was designed to be at 90 degrees and to feed the other way, but I've turned it around like this and it's an extreme angle, and the finish it is producing with such a high shear angle is just dreaming. That last cut was 1 thou. The swarf is really fine and all curly. I couldn't resist, I'm afraid. I had to go back and do the base just to try it out, just to be sure. The tool, the angle here is 25 degrees to the direction of travel, not 25 degrees to the perpendicular. So it's a really oblique angle, or acute angle, whichever way you like to look at it. Since I was getting such a good finish on the with the shear tool, I decided rather than wasting time grinding the sides, I'd use a shear tool to clean them up. Finally, we move over to the mill to do a couple of drilled holes. I'm going to drill a 1/2 inch hole. Well, I'm going to drill and then ream a 1/2 inch hole here for the diamond dresser, and there's going to be a hole in through this piece here, which is going to have to be about 3/4 inch. That will possibly be reamed, although I don't have a 3/4 reamer, but I do have a oversized one about 3 thou bigger that will do the job. So firstly, I'm going to indicate along this to make sure that it is indeed, that the vise is indeed correctly aligned on the table. And if you can see that, that's drifted off by 1/100th of a millimeter. As I wind back, it's still 1/100th off, it's still 1/100th off, and at about this point it starts to just taper off. So I suspect that is some inaccuracy that's been put in with the shaper, and it's at 5 microns the other way when we get nearly off the end of the part. I'm going to call that good enough. Close enough. Seven. Just touching there. We'll go to metric for a minute because it's a 10mm edge finder, so X is now 5mm. Let's just repeat that again. $5mm. Good. Now we can go to imperial. And it's 2.5 inches to the point where that's probably going to have to do. The table needs scraping. the ways are worn in the middle. Another job to be done. $10mm. Yuck. So now, for the first time, let's remove this from the packaging. Nice. Okay, so this is the micrometer that I made the clamp for in the previous video. My intention is to put a threaded hole about here so that either this bolt or another custom made one can mount that there. Obviously the clamp will be removed and this reference face under here will sit on this face here, and then the micrometer can give a direct reading of the height of the diamond above this surface. This surface will be ground to a precise dimension below the hole that goes through here, which acts as a pivot. So that will enable the radius of the grinding, the resulting dressing on the grinding wheel, to be set very accurately. How many times do I do that after I've been tapping? On the spindle in reverse. Nice little chamfer. So I've been thinking about how I'm going to drill this hole. The problem is this part here is stood up in the way. So what I'm going to have to do is to work out where I want it from this side in relation to this back face and where this face will end up. I'm going to have to take it out of the vise, flip it up the other way, spot drill, put a pilot drill through and drill it out to 12 millimeters, half an inch, something like that, from the other side. Then I can flip it up this way. I can drill and ream from this side because the drill is long enough and the reamer is long enough. However, my design calls for a counterbore on this side. Now, I've got a boring head here. That'll do very nicely. However, I have one boring bar for it, this one, and that's not really going to cut the mustard. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an extension for this boring bar so that this will plug into the extension and the extension will then allow the boring head to be above the level of this. Another project